Hey guys, just a quick update to the previous two videos I had posted. Ran into a couple problems. One of them was the bolts were too short on the Zeta handguards, the side mounts. These are the bolts that they supplied, which is a 60mm bolt. And I have not heard back from them yet. And I tried to find the same type of bolt in a 70mm unsuccessfully. But I did find some M8 70mm with a socket head, which actually like the look of these better. But since different type of fastener, I also picked up a box of just stainless steel flat washers. And these are, by the way, these are stainless steel as well. I'm not 100% certain, but I'm pretty sure these original bolts were stainless steel. In fact, I don't have it right here, but I had checked them with a magnet and it is non-magnetic, which doesn't necessarily prove it's stainless, but it does prove it's not just plain old steel. So ready to go with these. I've got the washers as well. I also got the relays in, and I'm going to walk you over and show you my progress there. And I'll do an updated wiring diagram as well. But these are 12 volts. They're slightly larger than I was expecting. I probably could find a smaller one, but that ended up being okay because I really needed the additional resistance from the coil on these. The CRF 450L, even though it has LED blinkers all the way around, it appears they're using just the classic circuit for the blinkers that are expecting a higher wattage. And the original stock units on here, when I looked at them a little bit more closely, I realized that they have two different wattage ratings on them that are pretty significantly different. And the running lights are very, very low wattage, whereas the flasher is a much, much higher wattage. And it looks like they've got a whole bunch of resistors in parallel on the little PCB inside there to get enough resistance for it to flash properly. So let me flip this on. Let's see, well, before I do that, I've got quite the rat's nest of wire here, but this is replicating very close to the wiring diagram that I had drawn up with one small change. So if I flip this on, you see I get some immediate current draw, about 150 milliamps, with this running as a running light. And if I put the signal on, if I can find it, notice that current drops down to nothing. So I have this connected inline on the lead that provides a constant 12 volts in running light mode to ensure that I'm not getting any current back into the harness. And it is flashing correctly now. So you see if I keep the camera on there, if I turn the blinker off, running light, turn the blinker on, flasher, running light, flasher. So I've got it doing what I want. You can probably hear that clicking in the background. That might allude to one of the changes I made. And that was feeding the coil of the relay from the flasher positive instead of the running light positive. Either configuration would have worked. The advantage of feeding it this way is I get the additional resistance of the coil in the relay, and you get that nice click sound on the blinker, which I'm sure I'm not going to hear over the bike running, but it's at least if the bike stalls and I've left my blinker on, I'll sure hear it. The other change I had to make was I've got a bunch of resistors in line here to get up to enough draw. These are 1/2 watt resistors, and I'm running them at less than 1/2 watt, but I did need 3 of them in parallel. And I left the blinker on for quite some time, and I checked the heat on those, and they're barely getting warm. So I think the blinker could be on just non-stop, and these guys are not going to get hot enough to do any damage to anything that they are up against. So this ended up being a little bit more complex than I thought it was going to be, just due to having to add the resistors. But these are super cheap, and I will post an updated wiring diagram. And I'm going to have this all together. I'm going to build one module per side, so there'll be, for each side, there'll be the small relay as well as the 3 resistors, and it'll all be heat shrunk up into a nice package, which I will at least get some pictures of to include in a finished video. So I now have all the parts I need to correctly install, both from an electrical perspective as well as the right length bolts for these fork clamps. So the next video you see should be this this all done. Or maybe I'll shoot some video getting it together as well. I don't know that I want to do a whole how-to. I'm sure you guys would love to see that, but it just takes so darn long to shoot video of everything as you're actually going through and doing it. So forgot to mention those are 470 ohm resistors, and I have 3 of them in parallel. I know you see 5 there in total, but the other 2 were not connected to anything. I was just adding one at a time until I got to enough load. The reason I chose 470 ohm is because it loads them at less than 1/2 watt, which is what their rated current is at the 13.5 volts that this thing is going to typically see. And also, for those of you that are still waiting, I know I got to post the tail tidy video. I've still got the still shots from that. I just need to sit down and edit everything together, so that should be up soon.